Kaui Lucas. Hi, Kaui.
Hi, Jay. Who knew this was going to happen?
It's a day full of surprises. It's okay. This is ThinkTech, you know. It's like Hawaii Public Radio and Perry Home Companion, the movie. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what people are going to do. And that's the wonderment of it all. So Kaui is actually having a screen test today. The thing about the screen test is she already passed the screen test, so it's a screen test with a known result. Kaui's going to have a show on ThinkTech starting at 3 o'clock next Friday. Okay, what day will that be? Next Friday will be I give up.
Whatever.
Next Friday, okay? And it's going to be called Hawaii is My Mainland, okay, which is a wonderful title. It's also the title of her blog, so this is really her name, okay? And we want to talk today about Kaui, about her orientation here, what she considers important in these islands, and why she's a locavore. It's all about being local.
Right.
Hawaii is my mainland, you know. I want to ask her about that. So welcome to the show, Kaui.
Thank you, Jay. It's really great.
Yeah, great to know you, great to associate with you and collaborate with you in our little project around ThinkTech. So, what is it with Hawaii is my mainland? What is that?
There was an art show, part of the Maoli Arts Month a few years ago, and Miley Andrade, who's a professor at UH and a very fine artist, had a piece in the show. And there was something in there about it being the mainland. It was a piece about what the tension between people who grew up here and those who've come here, and it's on my blog, actually. I think it's in the first blog.
What's the tension?
The tension, Miley is a native Hawaiian artist, and the tension around appropriating Hawaiian culture for someone else's benefit. And also the tension in this case around the mainland is we don't think about it mostly anymore. People just call it the mainland. But it certainly isn't the mainland that people usually refer to, being the continental United States, certainly isn't my mainland. I realize that for many people, it is their mainland because they came from there, and so it makes sense. But for people who are from here, it doesn't make sense, and it's a mindset. I love that at the airport, Hawaiian Airlines now has US continent instead of mainland or whatever. And I see little places here and there where people are being aware of that. But I made that the title of the blog because I want people to think about Hawaii as its own place, because we're special. We're an archipelago, the most isolated land masses on Earth. And I think with your show, you've showcased so many ways that we're special. And we really have so much that needs to be protected. And when there's the mindset that we can just do things here the way they do it there, and it's okay, there's a problem.
Yeah. So it existed a long time, though, this problem. It's a gradual, a gradual effect of people coming from the mainland, culture coming from the mainland. Think before McDonald's. think Okazuya.
Yes.
Life was good without I know it's hard to believe, you guys, but life was really good without McDonald's. It was healthier, for one thing. It was cheaper, also.
Yes.
And it was more social, as a matter of fact, in the Okazuya.
Or the Manapua man, walking through the town with them. Okay, I am not that old. I do not actually have those memories. But I did grow up on a sugar plantation. And
Which one?
Eva Sugar Plantation.
Yeah.
And it was pretty magical in a lot of ways in the 60s. We had our own chickens and grew our own vegetables and had lots of fruit trees, even a macadamia nut tree. And the Eggman came to deliver eggs if our chickens didn't lay enough.
You called him the Eggman, didn't you?
Well, he was also the milkman.
Get confused, which one?
No, he delivered both, eggs and
The
milk.
milk and Eggman.
Yeah. So it was a community where, we bought our beef by the side. My brother was a cowboy and working at the feedlot just a few miles down the road, and it was all locally sourced. If we wanted a pig, we went down Fort Weaver Road to the pig man.
Who was not the same guy as the bread man and the
No,
milkman.
no.
It's nostalgia. Nostalgia is really important here. I'm not sure why. Do you know why? Why is nostalgia so? I mean, people really have these lush recollections of the good old days. And the good old days were really, really, really good. And they really were good. It's not just that you look back and say, that was somewhat better, so I'll consider that really great. No, they were great. It was a special thing. It's the thing you're talking about. But it's less so today. That's the problem.
I think that there's been so much change so rapidly. I'm not embarrassed to say, I live in the town where I went to high school, so everybody can find out what my real age is. So, I'm only 52. When I was a kid and we drove into town, it was a big deal. And where Pearl Ridge is now, there were water buffalo working the fields.
Alongside the watercress.
Yes, right there where the watercress is. Exactly.
Did the water buffalo poop in the water around the watercress?
Now
We're not going to go there. Well, those are good old days, and it sounds to me like you've dedicated at least part of your thought in life to that. You have the blog. Hawaii is my mainland. What is the blog about? Who writes the blog? What do you talk about in the blog?
I write it. It's I was
You ever
living.
take guest writers?
It's a good idea. I will. Anybody wants to?
There it is.
Please.
Okay, you
please,
heard it here.
Please. It's a little embarrassing because I started it several years ago when I was living in Holualoa and away from all the distractions of Honolulu and had more time. And then I didn't look at it for four years practically. And then I took a WordPress class, and so I just kind of started the engines going again.
WordPress, really?
Yeah.
Footnote, we're writing our new website here at ThinkTech on WordPress.
Wow.
We've discovered WordPress.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I had a wonderful local teacher, John LeBlanc, and we met at the Proto Hub, and it was a great little class.
Oh, the Proto Hub.
Yes, sadly,
They're in this building,
Rest in peace. Oh, they found a new home?
Yeah. Well, they're in this building.
Okay.
I think it's a temporary thing, but they're in this building.
So there's I am a passionate locavore. I am also very, very interested in sustainable agriculture. I've taken several permaculture courses. It's so good and so much fun, and my teachers are fabulous. You know both of them. Hunter Hevelin.
Sure.
Yeah, and Matthew Lynch. And so it's just a way for me, because I didn't have a show on ThinkTech Hawaii, to talk about things that are really important, I think, for Hawaii to stay a place we want to live.
Yes. Well, it's not just nostalgia then.
No.
There's a certain activism I feel that's creeping into this conversation. And right after this break, we're going to explore more about Kaui Lucas and her activism. Whoa, we'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here with Kaui Lucas. And what did we call her? A local advocate. It's coming out about the advocacy. But I want to tell you a story because you're a budding host. You know, you don't need Tums. I'm going to tell you a short story. And we have something in the control room to memorialize. Back in the year 2001, I got involved in the Ehemimaru incident, where the U.S. submarine Greenville sank a Japanese high school fishing training vessel by the name Ehemimaru. And it was really a terrible disaster. And there was a court of inquiry established by the Navy to find out what happened. That's a very high-level investigation, but a bunch of admirals, you know, all asking questions. And PBS engaged me that I should cover this for the evening news, and that means, you know, like 50 million people, you know. And so I went to a friend of mine. Her name is Fumiko Halloran. She's an author. She's a Japanese national author, and she's a famous person in her own right. And I said, Fumiko, I'm going to be standing on a X marks the spot outside Pearl Harbor, you know, every day or two for the next few weeks while this court of inquiry goes on. And there's going to be a television camera on me and a satellite. They're going to beam me to the mainland at prime time, and 50 million people will be watching me. What is your advice about doing this? This is, you know, pretty stressful stuff. What is your advice? And she said, don't get nervous. I said, that's it? Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
That's it. That's the only advice. She said, I'm not giving you any other advice. Just focus on one thing. It's like skiing. You focus on one thing at a time, and you do better. So I stood there on the X, and the camera, and the satellite truck, and 50 million people on the mainland, you know, and I just remembered what she said, and it worked fine. You know, getting nervous is not permitted. It's no permit.
Okay, all right, we'll go with that.
There you go. All right, so what about, you know, advocacy? Advocacy and activism is a very close cousins, kissing cousins anyway.
Yes, well, I do once in a while get into the activist role, but mostly I'm an advocate. I'm on too many wonderful boards. I'm on the Outdoor Circles board, and my grandmother was a president of the Outdoor Circle in,
it's in the family.
1937 and 38.
Kidding. Oh, that's really something.
So it's definitely a tradition. And my father was a CON delegate twice to the first two constitutional conventions. And I hope that's a story that you and I will be talking about at some time.
CON?
Yeah.
CON, we should talk about CON. We should talk about what happened. There was one in 1968, huh?
There was one in 1968 and one in, I believe it was,
78.
there was one before that. I think it was
58.
1950, exactly. So my dad was
58.
in 50
But
and
we weren't a
68.
state yet, so this had to be
Right.
the original constitution
Right.
of the state.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, that's a major con. So it wasn't in 68, it had to wait, what, to 78. And 78 still is, you know, a long shadow on our state.
Right. There was one in 68.
68?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Or anyway, in there. I remember coming home
Somebody
from.
get hold of Google and give us a real answer on this.
I remember coming home from kindergarten to watch my dad on television because they
And that would
aired
have
it
been
on
68.
something like that.
Yeah, okay, all right. So what are your thoughts about a constitutional convention? It is coming up again. I remember, you know, there was a whole big thing going on for the possibility of one back in 2008.
I know. And then
But it failed. A lot of people were out there advocating for it, but a lot of people were advocating against it. And the reason they were, I mean, my perception of it anyway, was that they were afraid that remarkable and threatening things would happen to disrupt, you know, the structure of the state, or things that worked for them. Their kuleanas would be disrupted, and so it was self-interest. They weren't interested so much in raising the common good, but they were interested in Mahayana, you know, Mahayana.
Yes.
Raising the common good, but they were interested in their own kuleana. So they opposed it, and the opposition won. And I think if you go back to the newspapers at the time, you could pretty much identify what organizations and individuals were opposing it, and why.
There was a lot of fear mongering. I am part Native Hawaiian, and I definitely have a placist view about what happens here politically. I know deeply
Placist? What is a placist view?
that that it's I'm prejudiced in favor of this place.
Okay,
Hawaii.
right.
And knowing that the Hawaiian kingdom that was illegally overthrown was a multi-ethnic, very democratic, cutting edge democratically. You know, Chinese had people who had immigrated here from China could vote. Women could vote. So it was actually way more democratic than the United States at the time. So that's the frame, the political framework that I think is a good one for this place.
Yeah, so what would you?
So
what would you do in a constitution? You're starting to scare me a little bit. Kaui. What
I
would
don't
you
wanna
do at this
scare you, Jay.
constitutional convention?
You know, we have this really peculiar setup right now where we are sort of a one-party state. And it's, I want to go back to the fear-mongering, actually. So the reason I brought that up about the Hawaiian Kingdom is that in an attempt to make some of the wrongs right for Native Hawaiians, and I differentiate. I mean, there are many issues that are specifically about Native Hawaiians, and then there are issues that are about Hawaiian nationality, and those are two different things. I just want people to understand that when I say, I don't mean ethnically Hawaiian when I'm talking about politically Hawaiian. So
That's including me, right?
yes.
I'm politically Hawaiian.
I don't know. I don't know you that well. Are you?
Fair enough. The answer is yes. I'm not a sovereignty person, though. Can you handle that?
I can handle. I live in a place where most people aren't. But it's a discussion that I think needs to happen. And since we're down to this one party, and I think a con would be a way to bring some much needed, really intelligent, deep thinking, Mahayana minded, Pono discourse and hopefully legislation. because unlike our legislature, where you have to kind of be a politician. And the things
That's so in most legislatures around the world.
Yeah, and the things that make you a good vote getter are not necessarily the things that make you a good leader.
And money getter, don't forget the money.
Money, yes.
Money and the votes.
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
that's it. Well, that's the number one reason for a con, I think, to get the money out of the elections,
Yeah.
for me. I mean,
So have you written about this kind?
no, I haven't. I have this discussion with anyone who will talk to me about it.
But you can write about it.
I could write about it.
In fact, you could come on our ThinkTech and do commentaries on it. You could
Okay.
you put it on our teleprompter over there and you can read it. So easy. It's so easy. I
Well,
mean, people making commentaries like that,
where's the,
speaking how they feel. It's here.
okay.
Okay, so,
So-
but I'm starting to get the idea that if we had to choose whether you're for change or stasis, you'd be for change.
I would be for change.
And if I made you queen,
Yes.
which sometimes I feel I have the power, what would you do first?
Wow. What would I do first? I would convene a con
Ah,
and get my cabinet together and nominate some wonderful ministers that could lead Hawaii onto a sustainable path for the future and take care of those very precious
what about
resources.
housing? What would you do about housing?
Well, can I just say for the record that I only found out, half an hour ago that we were going to do this show? So, housing, what I would do. Well, the first thing we have to do is change our system of land tenure. And there has to be something besides dollars that makes somebody eligible to come to Hawaii and buy property, because the foreign investment.
You would try to sort of qualify people before they could, invest, or before they could?
So in other places in the world where they have addressed this problem, usually it's something like 51%, like Cuba does this, and Cuba has 80% of their citizens are homeowners, by the way. Cuba.
I never forget, I went to Singapore one time, and of course you talk to the taxi driver, he's your first, source of knowledge. And the conversation revealed that he was Chinese from mainland China. He had gotten papers to come to Singapore. And the day he arrived, without a moment's hesitation, he had a job driving the taxi cab, and he had a home. They gave him a home in a condo, and he had to pay for it out of his earnings driving the taxi cab. The whole thing was organized and ordered. There was no way he was going to be on the street. His life was structured from day one.
Well,
And the people in Singapore are really smart in terms of management, that kind of thing.
when we did have a queen, we didn't have homeless. And
Well,
one of the
We haven't had homeless until fairly recently, anyway.
Oh, actually, in the time after the overthrow, there was already, it was, Lily Okalani writes about it in her book, very poignantly, My Story. So maybe it wasn't as visible as it is now, or the numbers that it is now. But it has been a problem, especially for Native Hawaiians. Let's just,
Well, a good percentage of the homeless are Native Hawaiians. That's what I keep hearing.
I hear that too. I don't know.
I mean, there's something
percentage-wise.
in the system that we need to tune.
Yeah,
So
so going back to the land, so in Bermuda, for instance, that was the first place I went to that did this. You have to be a resident of Bermuda to own property. And then you Then there's how do you define residence, and then there's some sort of timeline. The book, Jared Diamond's book, Collapse, talks about what Montana did, so this is even the United States, as a kind of baby step. They had the same problem. All these people with private jets were building their weekend retreats in the mountains in Montana. Property prices went sky high, and the locals couldn't afford to live there anymore. So they changed the tax laws so that residents, and they defined that in terms of a number of days, had one tax bracket and non-residents had another. Now, I do know that there have been initiatives here in Hawaii that have looked at that, and we have a Toast version of that in Honolulu. I don't know about the other counties. I think Maui did something, but that has to. I mean, a quick, easy way to help stem the tide would be to have much higher property taxes for non-residents.
That reminds me, you know, Fred Hemmings, you know, he's a Republican.
Yeah.
Used to be in the state Senate for a
Yeah,
while,
yeah, yeah.
long time.
Yeah, I
think.
actually know him.
He was sitting in that chair a month or two ago, and he had an idea that's relevant to this. It was that that there are a stated number of hotel rooms in a given island. It's a set number, sort of like the set number of taxi cabs in Manhattan.
Okay.
It's a set number you can't exceed, and every hotel room has a decal. This is number 6SJ7 hotel room. Mm-hmm. and the hotel room can be sold. You know, the decal goes with it, the medallion goes with it, but the number cannot be increased. And in this way, and that includes, by the way, bed and breakfast and all that.
Okay.
All
Thank
that
you.
stuff in Kailua, everything.
Yeah.
You know, you are renting space out, you get a medallion, but there's only a finite number of medallions. And his purpose for all this is to make sure that tourism doesn't outgrow its proper size. Make sure that it doesn't swamp over us in the name of additional profit. Of course, that probably isn't going to happen, but it's a very interesting idea. The elephant in the room is the U.S. Constitution. You know, you can't limit investment here, but you can limit other things. And that's why we did a program not too long ago. It was about foreign investment, offshore investment. How can Hawaii better manage offshore investment? Because Hawaii has this, I'm sure you, in your travels, you recognize that you have either paranoia, you know, thinking that people from someplace else are going to wreck your society, or you have cargo cult, thinking that people from someplace else are much smarter than we are, and they can tell us what to do. And you know, whether it goes this way or that way, sometimes it's a game of chance, and the wrong choice is made. But in foreign investment, like in Singapore, you have to manage it by
Yes.
techniques such as Fred Hemmings' idea, or your notion of the tax being differentiated between local investors and offshore investors.
The by offshore, I mean out of state, by the way. California is offshore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're together
okay.
on that. Yeah. Well,
so
I mean,
the thing that's interesting about what Fred said, and by the way, my father was head of the Republican Party. That's how my parents met, campaigning for Bill Quinn. He was head of the Republican Party, and my mother was his campaign secretary. So I may be somewhat liberal now and not a member of the Republican Party, but, you know, parties change.
parties change and their philosophy changes.
Yes.
And Boehner is going to step down. How about that in the morning paper? So it's a good thing. Change is a good thing.
The system we have now, if it was enforced, would sort of handle that. Well, it wouldn't handle the overall limit as Fred is suggesting. And I would have to, listen more deeply to what he said, but we have legislation that says how many B&Bs are allowed, but that isn't what's happening. So it's a problem of enforcement. I have many good friends who live in Kailua, and I have a friend on the neighborhood board there, Vern Hinsvark, who's really gotten active. He's on the board, the neighborhood board now, because in large measure because of what has happened to their neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a neighborhood anymore. It's a resort town.
Let's let that sink in, take a short break. We come back and explore exactly what it is about Kailua that's relevant to this issue. Ooh, important. Ooh.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I host Sustainable Hawaii every Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. My guests offer insights on challenging economic and environmental issues facing our state and offer innovative solutions to increasing Hawaii's long-term sustainability. Recently, we've been focusing on sustainable land development, food, and energy security. If you have a project or issue you'd like to discuss on the show or would like to be a guest, please contact me at kirstenbturner@gmail.com and tune in live weekly or view the show at your convenience at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.
We're back, we're live. That's Kaui Lucas and me, and we're talking about Hawaii is my mainland, and she's a local advocate here on Community Matters. I'm really excited about you coming on and doing a regular show because it's like endless.
It is.
Everybody trying to find an identity, not just a Hawaiian orientation, but everybody trying to find a sustainable identity for this place. And one of the things that's clear is that we can't be all things to all people. We can't be just a place that receives culture from somewhere else on an ongoing basis, and we change like a gecko. we change all the time. We have to find the core of what we are. And that's hard because we've had a lot of layers of change up till now. What is the core for you?
The core for me is making sure that our natural resources are protected, because really that's the baseline.
Socially.
Socially is, I can consider myself endemic to this place. I mean, I cannot survive anywhere else. I really can't. I can go visit someplace else, but, and.
What makes it that way? It can't be just blood.
No,
What
it's
makes
the
it that way?
social networks. It's the community. I just don't have the time. I've spent too much time here. Where would I go? Where would I go?
So
and I, there are a lot of people who
Are you afraid
more.
of the mainland? Is the mainland threatening to you? Is the mainland, that overwhelming, paranoid kind of thing where you worry, you're afraid that it's moving so fast, it is so smart that we can't keep up?
No, it's not that at all. There are, Mr. and Mrs. Lau, who have their little Kaimaki cottage, built in 1930. Where are they gonna go? The families, who've been here for generations, the kids are graduating from high school. Maybe they go away to the continent for school.
Your classmates went away. You went to Punahou, right?
Yeah.
Your classmates all left already, yeah?
Well, yeah, I left too, but I came back. I came back early.
Okay.
I did
The rest of them are coming back later, eh?
Yes. But we had that program, Hawaii 2050. Do you remember that a couple of years ago? And so they took 2 years going around the islands, doing these meetings. What do we want the future of Hawaii to be?
Yeah.
What is our plan going to be for Hawaii's future? And did you go to the wrap-up breakfast? So it was a Saturday morning. It cost $20 in Waikiki, Coral Ballroom, and 2,000 people showed up. Wow. that's how much people care. They had this panel of 10 high schoolers, a mix of public and private high schools. None of them thought that they would be able to afford to move back to Hawaii.
That's the problem, Kaui. I mean, you put your finger on it.
It was heartbrearting.
It is heartbreaking. And it's going to come true just that way.
It already is.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like climate change. Is it reversible?
Sure.
And you
Sure.
are going to show us how.
I am.
It can be reversed.
It can. It is not too late. But it does mean taking action. And this morning's news that Obama and from China.
Xi Jinping.
Thank you.
Yeah, the premier of China. Okay.
Have made this commitment to really do something about climate change. Let's hope really do something. Is good news. You know, I think it's possible.
Yeah, I wish it were really the top of the agenda. It's the one thing that they could go public and agree on, yeah.
Yeah.
There's much more that they should be agreeing on, actually.
So I can't do anything about the whole world, but I feel like
Well, no,
with my
but you
one little
can.
voice
You
about
know,
Hawaii.
what I get out of this is that it's not one little voice. You actually are resonant with a lot of people, but they may not be able to articulate it as well. And you speak about it, and they may not be able to get into a public position the way you have been and you will be. Actually, the problem is converting that to action. And in order to convert it to action, you need champions,
Yes.
and you need leaders. I mean, political leaders who will stick by the point and not forget. I think amnesia is our worst enemy.
Yeah, amnesia. That's amnesia and greed. Bad combo. So that brings me right back to the CONCON. And I think that is really an opportunity that we don't have to, it doesn't necessarily have to take years for this to happen, but groundbreaking reform could come that would put the things that we've been talking about in action.
The problem, and I mean, I can see it on behalf of the people who did and who will oppose another CONCON, to worry about a bunch of people who work hard to get elected to CONCON, you know, who had some really extraordinary ideas, creative ideas, unprecedented ideas, and who are able to get them through at a constitutional level. Very hard to change what they do. If they
Yes.
make a mistake, what do you do? For example, just suppose you and I agree that OHA is a waste of time and a waste of huge amounts of money. Just suppose we agreed on
Okay.
that. What would we do about it? It's very hard to change that. It's right or wrong, it's going to be with us as an essential point of our government for a long time.
You know, we made up these rules. My hero, by the way, in the localizing movement is Helena Norberg Hodge. I don't know if the economics of happiness, does that say anything? Anyway, so she has the sort of philosophical underpinnings for that articulate these ideas really well. That fear-mongering, that has got to, we just have to get over it, Jay. I mean,
You know
it's
what they
like-
say about fear-mongering? Even paranoids have real enemies.
Yes, there was fear-mongering directed at the Hawaiian community so that they would oppose the CONCON. Although, yes, I'm just saying things just like you articulated it perfectly. So that, I think that argument, oh no, if we have a CONCON, OHA's going to go away and we're going to lose something, although what we
Oh,
would
I see
lo-
what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah. So I don't think that the Hawaiian community should fear a CONCON. It's true that there were a lot of things that happened, could have, anyway.
I think there'll be a lot of people out there, you know, who were actually supporting the CONCON last time in '08, who will be older, wiser, more influential, more akamai about making arguments in favor of the CONCON next time. So you see, I think you'll see a better run at it next time.
Well, it's the one chance or the one way that we already have. It's not inventing something. We have the mechanism. It's legal. We don't, for sweeping change. And that makes some people antsy. But our one-party system just really isn't serving us. I think
Would you run for CONCON?
I don't know. I don't know that I have the right skill set. But I do know people who would, and that I would be willing to support. So I would definitely be out there campaigning for people who are not career politicians, but understand the complexity of the problems facing Hawaii. They're too smart to get into politics, but they're who we need.
Well, there are so many elements in what we've talked about. So many things that are right about looking at it on the broad basis, the common good basis, and so many things that really aren't working, not only here, but on the mainland. I mean, I know you want to focus on Hawaii, but there's plenty of problems on the mainland, plenty to go around. And there's a parallel in many ways. And it's time for people in general to learn about this and to find out solutions about this and come together about it. I mean, it's time to remake, the way things work there and here. So you're in the right place, you're in the right time, these are the right issues, good for you. Okay, that's Kaui Lucas. Wow, now you know a little about Kaui, just a little. There's much more to come. I'm gonna find out. Kaui Lucas, a local advocate. Hawaii is my mainland. So many double entendres there.
Well, and I just noticed that you have mainland spelt in one word, and my beloved cousin told me it should be 2 words. So I changed it on my blog. So not that ThinkTech Hawaii has to change it, but I love Laura, and I always do whatever she says, my cousin Laura Thompson. And she said, no, it should be 2 words. So I said, okay, Laura, I'm changing it.
Don't take anything for granted. This is ThinkTech. We've had a lovely time. Thank you, Kaui.
Thank you, Jay.
Aloha.